In a span of just 89 tenth seconds, a massive archive of evidence, 2.3 terabytes loaded with more than 8,000 names, was seconds away from setting off the most shocking federal law enforcement scandal the country had ever seen. The air felt tight, as if everyone present could sense that something irreversible was about to happen. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think really caused Jasmine Crockett to completely lose it on live television. Kash Patel walked into that hearing believing he was prepared. He had survived tough questioning before, talked his way out of disasters, and relied on polished statements to shield him from trouble. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared him for what Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett was about to unleash. Cameras rolled from every angle, and the entire nation would soon witness his composure crack like glass under a hammer. People inside the chamber had whispered for weeks about classified files, destroyed evidence, and hidden names connected to Jeffrey Epstein. But no one knew just how deep the rot went, and no one expected Crockett to walk in with a briefcase full of documents that would shake the entire federal system. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett stepped into the room with the intensity of someone who was done waiting for the truth. She walked with purpose, her expression sharp, her posture firm, gripping a briefcase that looked more like a sealed vault than an accessory. Every step she took hinted that inside that briefcase was something powerful, something dangerous. Her eyes, calm but fierce behind wire-rimmed glasses, gave away how long she'd been investigating this. She moved like someone who had uncovered secrets meant to stay buried and was determined to drag them into the light. With a background in prosecution and national security, she knew the rules of evidence. She also knew when those rules had been twisted to hide crimes. When the clock hit 2:47 p.m., Patel entered the room believing his authority, rank, and badge gave him armor. His suit was crisp, his expression steady, his leather briefcase tightly clasped. He carried his usual talking points, phrases about protocols, security, and classified procedures. But they would soon prove useless. Patel had built a reputation for outsmarting critics through careful deflection. But today, he wasn't facing speculation. He was facing documents, real files, real memos, real decisions, evidence of an operation designed to hide the crimes of powerful people. The hearing room buzzed with a level of tension that felt more like a courtroom than a committee meeting. Reporters leaned forward, sensing something historic. Legal experts whispered among themselves, unsure whether they were about to watch a breakthrough or a collapse of institutional trust. Even the lighting seemed dramatic, with sharp shadows falling across polished desks. Everyone knew this was about Epstein, and everyone knew the government had never fully answered for the evidence that had vanished after his death. When Chairman Mike Turner opened the session, his voice carried a seriousness that left the room silent. He spoke formally about reviewing FBI evidence protocols and classification procedures, but the words felt like surface-level polish over a storm that was already forming behind Crockett's briefcase. Patel began with his standard confidence, assuring everyone that the FBI followed strict guidelines and had no role in conspiracy theories. He spoke calmly, trying to set the tone, but Crockett sat quietly, fingers tapping her briefcase, waiting for her moment. When his opening remarks ended, Crockett leaned forward, ready to strike with precision. Her voice was controlled, but the weight behind it was undeniable as she asked the question that instantly tightened Patel's expression. Does the FBI still have the evidence collected from Epstein's Manhattan residence in July 2019? The question seemed simple, but it cornered him instantly. His eyes flicked toward the folders in her briefcase, then back to her. He attempted to dodge with a technical excuse, saying he couldn't speak on ongoing investigations in a public hearing. Crockett repeated his words slowly, dismantling them with careful emphasis. Epstein had died years earlier. What investigation could possibly still be ongoing? And why had the FBI produced nothing in 5.5 years? Then she opened her briefcase. The sound of the latch clicking echoed through the chamber. Inside were folders marked with bold red classification stamps, their edges worn from years of concealment. She pulled out the first document and held it up high enough for cameras to see the FBI letterhead. She began to read aloud. The memo detailed the massive amount of digital storage devices seized from Epstein's properties, hard drives, servers, surveillance recordings. Together, they held 2.3 terabytes of material. But the number that froze everyone was the identification of 8047 individuals tied to the content: federal officials, judges, members of Congress, foreign agents. The moment those names were mentioned, an eerie stillness spread across the room. Even seasoned lawmakers looked stunned. Patel's face lost color as the magnitude of the truth hit the open air. He tried to interrupt, insisting the document was classified, but Crockett crushed that attempt by calmly announcing it had been legally declassified through proper oversight procedures. Then she pressed on. She pulled out another document, a Department of Justice communication, this one even more disturbing. It confirmed that powerful officials, including sitting judges and senators, had been identified in the footage, and it revealed a recommendation from the Attorney General: classify everything permanently and destroy the evidence to avoid destabilizing the government. Gasps swept across the room. Phones buzzed as journalists scrambled to send out updates. Social media began to erupt with the first leaks: 2.3 terabytes, 8047 names, evidence destruction. But Crockett was far from finished. She reached into her briefcase for a third document. This one carried the weight of something almost unbelievable: an FBI headquarters order authorizing the destruction of Epstein surveillance materials, allegedly under presidential authority. It stated that personnel were threatened with termination and federal charges if they questioned the operation. The final phrase, "This operation carries presidential authority," landed like a thunderclap. That was the moment Patel snapped. He shot to his feet, voice cracking with fury as he accused the committee of harassment. His tone was loud enough to shake the room. He claimed the committee was attacking federal law enforcement and undermining national security. Crockett didn't flinch. She stood as well, matching his intensity but not losing control. She fired back, asking how destroying evidence of crimes committed by powerful officials protected anything except those who did wrong. Patel's anger spiraled. His face reddened, his gestures grew sharp, and his voice escalated to a frantic pitch. He insisted that the FBI protected the country from partisan attacks. But Crockett countered with the same question America was now shouting online: how was hiding evidence protection? For nearly a minute, the two clashed in a chaotic back and forth that shocked everyone watching. Members shouted, reporters scrambled, and Chairman Turner tried desperately to regain control, slamming his gavel again and again. But the damage was done. Patel's composure had shattered in front of the entire nation. His breakdown was captured on every camera, turning a routine oversight hearing into a historic scandal. Crockett ended the confrontation with a single, chilling sentence: "Director, your own documents show that evidence was destroyed to protect people who hurt others. That isn't defending this country. That's betraying it." Security moved in as the room descended into chaos. Turner suspended the hearing. Patel was escorted out, shaken, furious, and visibly defeated. Within hours, lawmakers from both parties called for his resignation. Overnight, senior FBI officials stepped down. News networks ran non-stop coverage, and global allies questioned whether the FBI could be trusted at all. By midnight, Patel submitted his resignation. The 89 seconds that exposed the truth had crushed everything he built. The fallout from Patel's collapse spread faster than anyone expected. What had started as a tense hearing now spiraled into a national reckoning. People everywhere questioned how deep the cover-up went, how many hands had touched the evidence, and how far the protection of powerful individuals had stretched. Journalists worked around the clock, digging through every angle of the story. Headlines exploded across every network, each one more alarming than the last. The idea that a federal agency responsible for justice had destroyed evidence tied to some of the country's most influential people shook the nation's confidence. The public wanted answers, and they wanted them immediately. Meanwhile, Crockett's calm, precise exposure of each document became the focus of countless discussions. Clips of her reading the memos circulated everywhere, reaching millions in just hours. Her unwavering tone as she revealed details of 8047 implicated names made the moment unforgettable. She had handled the evidence with the seriousness of someone who understood just how dangerous it was. Inside the Justice Department, panic began to spread. Officials realized that their internal communications had become part of the public spectacle. Some staff members quietly packed their offices, anticipating investigations. The ripple effect was unmistakable. No one was safe from scrutiny. Crockett herself became a central figure in the unfolding drama. Many hailed her as courageous, someone willing to expose corruption no matter the risk. Others questioned how she obtained the documents, but she stayed silent on that point. For her, the focus was on the evidence, not the politics. As the night went on, lawmakers gathered in private meetings trying to control the damage. The idea that evidence implicating judges, senators, and intelligence officials had been destroyed was too severe to ignore. Whispers began about special prosecutors, emergency hearings, and potential criminal charges. Patel's outburst, replayed endlessly on every major news channel, became a symbol of how deeply the corruption reached. Viewers watched his trembling hands, his raised voice, and the moment he lost his composure. Each replay made the scandal feel even larger. Behind closed doors, security personnel who had escorted Patel out described him as shaken and overwhelmed. His anger, which had exploded so loudly in the hearing room, had turned into visible fear. The weight of the documents, now public, had crushed the shield he thought he had. Investigators began looking into the origins of the evidence destruction order. The phrase, presidential authority, sparked questions that no one was prepared to answer. Analysts debated whether such an order could ever be legal. Others wondered how many people had been threatened into silence. Foreign governments reacted quickly. Allies who once trusted American intelligence quietly asked for reassurance. Their concern was clear. If evidence of serious crimes could vanish inside the FBI, what might happen to international information shared with them? Inside the FBI, morale plummeted. Agents who believed in the mission of protecting the nation felt betrayed by the revelations. Some questioned whether they could trust their own leadership. Training rooms, break rooms, and internal message boards buzzed with fear, anger, and confusion. Patel's resignation letter, delivered near midnight, was short and stiff. There was no apology, no explanation, no acceptance of responsibility. He simply stepped down, leaving behind a trail of questions bigger than the scandal itself. Crockett, meanwhile, spent the night reviewing additional documents with her team. The hearing had ended early, but her work had only just begun. She understood that exposing the truth was not enough. She needed to make sure the evidence wasn't buried again. Social media turned Crockett into a central figure overnight. Clips of her strong, unwavering tone circulated with millions of views. People praised her courage, her persistence, and her refusal to be intimidated. But the attention also sparked a wave of fear from those who knew how dangerous exposing powerful individuals could be. News networks called legal experts to analyze possible charges. They discussed obstruction of justice, destruction of evidence, and misuse of classification laws. Many agreed that the actions described in the documents could lead to decades of prison time if proven. Calls for transparency grew louder. Citizens demanded access to the remaining evidence, to the names, and to the truth behind the missing files. But officials struggled to answer these demands without causing even more instability. Former FBI agents appeared on television, shocked and embarrassed by what they were seeing. Many said that the behavior described, destroying evidence tied to powerful figures, betrayed everything they had ever been trained to do. Crockett received invitations from every major news outlet, but she declined all interviews that night. She chose to remain silent, allowing the documents to speak for themselves. Her silence made the scandal feel even larger, as if she knew there was still more hidden beneath the surface. Meanwhile, the committee prepared to resume the hearing in the coming days, but no one knew what to expect now that Patel was gone. Would new witnesses step forward? Would more documents surface? Or had the full truth already slipped into public view? By early morning, the Rayburn building was surrounded by cameras, reporters, and citizens demanding answers. The quiet halls where the hearing had taken place were now filled with an echo of public outrage that could not be ignored. Inside Congress, lawmakers from both parties seemed stunned. Even those who rarely agreed found themselves united in disbelief. The idea that federal officials had been protected by the destruction of evidence felt almost unreal, yet the documents were clear. Speculation grew about who might be named within the 8047 individuals mentioned. Analysts debated whether the names would ever be released to the public. Some argued that revealing them might end careers overnight. Others insisted that transparency was the only way to restore trust. Across the country, families sat in their living rooms, watching late-night news updates. The details felt surreal, like something out of a political thriller, but it was happening for real, in front of the entire nation. Legal scholars predicted that the scandal would lead to one of the largest internal investigations in decades. They believed multiple agencies would be forced to cooperate, whether they wanted to or not. The scandal also sparked fear among those who had worked closely with Epstein or had been connected to his network. Some worried they would be caught in the fallout. Others wondered whether the destruction of evidence had protected them or simply delayed the inevitable. Crockett's staff continued reviewing the documents until sunrise. They prepared new questions, strengthened their arguments, and organized the remaining evidence. They knew the next hearing would be even more explosive. And despite the chaos, one thing became undeniable. The 89 seconds that revealed the truth had changed everything. The cover-up, the destruction, the lies, it had all been forced into the open. And now, the country demanded to see what happened next. As the sun rose over Washington, the nation braced for the next step. The storm created by Crockett's documents wasn't slowing down, it was growing. Crowds gathered around the Capitol holding signs, demanding investigations, demanding justice, demanding truth. The scandal had grown far beyond politics. It had become a public awakening. Inside the committee's offices, stacks of untouched evidence waited like sleeping giants. More memos, more internal notes, more files marked with red classification warnings. Each sheet of paper carried a weight that could break the careers and reputations of some of the most influential people in America. Crockett and her team knew they had uncovered something far larger than one destroyed case. This was a structure of protection built over years. Talks of emergency hearings spread quickly. Some lawmakers wanted the names released. Others were terrified of what would happen if they were. The pressure pulled Congress in two opposite directions, transparency or stability. But neither option came without consequences. As whispers grew louder, one thing became clear. No one could hide from the ripple effect of these revelations. Everyone involved in the cover-up felt its reach. Some sought lawyers, others stayed silent, hoping to avoid the spotlight. Former officials began distancing themselves from the scandal, claiming they had no idea evidence had been destroyed. But the document said otherwise. During the next committee session, the mood in the room was heavier than ever. Even without Patel, the atmosphere remained as sharp as broken glass. Crockett sat at her desk with the same unwavering focus she carried during the first hearing. She didn't need theatrics. She only needed the truth in front of her. Members spoke about the damage done, the collapse of public trust, the embarrassment to federal agencies, and the betrayal of basic principles. They discussed how the destruction of evidence had robbed victims of justice and protected those who believed their status placed them above the law. It was a painful conversation, but a necessary one. Analysts across the country agreed that the scandal had exposed a deeper issue: secrets buried under classification labels, decisions made behind closed doors, and systems designed to shield the powerful instead of protecting the innocent. The Epstein case had become the symbol of everything that had gone wrong. Crockett's closing statement that day settled into the room like a final, undeniable truth. She spoke steadily, her voice carrying the weight of all the evidence she had read. This hearing isn't about politics. It isn't about who sits in what office. It's about what happens when people with power forget that the law applies to them too. Evidence was destroyed to protect individuals who hurt others, and that is not justice. That is not safety. That is not leadership. Her words struck every corner of the chamber. Many lowered their heads. Some stared blankly ahead. A few wiped their eyes. In that moment, the entire room understood that the damage done to the justice system was not something that could be fixed overnight. Outside the building, reporters waited for updates, eager to understand how far the investigation would go. The public watched live coverage, waiting to learn whether more documents would surface. Across the country, people talked about accountability, reform, and the urgent need to rebuild trust. Federal agencies began internal audits. New investigators stepped forward. Quiet resignations continued through the week. The truth, once revealed, had begun to unravel everything that had been carefully hidden for years. And then, finally, the committee announced its decision: a full independent investigation into the destruction of evidence. No restrictions, no limitations, no protection for anyone involved. It would be the most sweeping inquiry of its kind in decades. That announcement sent shockwaves through Washington. Some feared it, others welcomed it, but everyone knew it was finally time to confront the truth. By the end of that week, nothing in the Capitol felt the same. The chamber where Patel lost control became a reminder of how quickly power collapses when confronted with undeniable evidence. The scandal rewrote careers, shook institutions, and forced the nation to question the systems built to protect them. The 89 seconds that exposed the truth became a turning point, a moment that forced a country to look directly at the corruption it had tried to ignore. A moment that proved how fragile systems can be when their protectors abandon integrity. And as the investigation moved forward, one message echoed louder than all others. When documents speak, the truth cannot stay buried. Not forever. Not this time.